Call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda will be the approval of minutes from the November 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Peak.
I move approval of the minutes from the November 22nd, 2010 meeting.
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Mitchell.
Aye.
Peak.
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Mills.
Abstain.
Donnelly.
Abstain.
Hannon.
Aye.
Maurer.
Aye. Item 2 is case number 1020, zoning code text change.
I noticed the Roman numeral slipped in there. That's
Yes.
actually, sorry, that's a placeholder. It's 10-12.
Okay, and this will be a public hearing.
Yes, it will. The application tonight's for a proposed change to the zoning code text. We received a request from a local property owner. Price Property owns several properties along Johnson Drive, on the south side of Johnson Drive, either side of Woodson. It's the old Dickinson Plaza Shopping Center, which is the old Dickinson Theater and some of the office buildings that are associated with that. They had asked if daycare uses would be allowed. They had a prospective tenant. We informed them that as the code currently reads that we would consider daycare to be in the CO group, which is an office district group, and that they are allowed in those properties, however, not on the ground floor. And I believe most of those buildings only have a ground floor, so essentially the answer was no, that currently daycares are not allowed there. They had asked for us to consider a zoning code text change, so that's why it's before you tonight. Basically what we've done is take the wording that's in some of our other zoning districts that do allow for daycares and simply add that to one of the permitted uses categories in the MS1 zone. MS1 is Main Street District 1, that's what the Price properties are currently zoned, and what most of the things in the downtown district that front Johnson Drive are also zoned MS1. The intent of MS1 when it was created in 2006 and applied through that master rezoning that the city did was to kind of do a better job than some of our existing zoning codes did at the time of capturing what a downtown business district should look like. The other two zoning districts that came out of that rezoning were MS2, which are what is mostly are zoned just off of Johnson Drive. That's also kind of a retail district, but it does allow for ground floor office use, whereas MS1 would not. And the third zoning district that was created back in 2006 was the DND, Downtown Neighborhood District, which is for supporting residential uses, a mix of residential uses in and around the downtown. So like I said, what we simply did with their proposal was to take a look at how daycares are allowed in our other commercial zoning districts and to simply insert that wording into the convenience retail / select services portion of MS1. So if you agreed with the request of the property owner, that's how we would recommend incorporating daycare uses into the MS1 zoning district. Their letter includes some details about the square footage of the use, how many children, and the hours of operations. All of that's irrelevant to really what we propose and what a zoning district like this would consider anyway. So that concludes staff report. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
We have discussion?
I have a question for staff. If we approve this and put it in, then there can be daycare centers anywhere?
There can be daycare centers in MS1, which anything that's zoned MS1 on the ground floor then could also have a daycare in it, yes.
So we could have a multiple of them.
Yep.
Instead of retail collecting sales tax businesses.
Yes, you could see daycares rather than retail uses.
I have
The
questions.
uses that are currently in MS1, I think what it's called is select services, barber shops, beauty shops, dance studio, laundry, locksmith, kind of an assortment, pharmacy. Our interpretation has always been, since it doesn't explicitly say daycare, and daycare is listed in the office districts, that daycare isn't as much like those. Daycare is an odd use. It's not really office, but it's not really the same kinds of services as the downtown currently has.
So if we use the term selected services, what other types of businesses could that mean?
We usually, when somebody asks us, is my business allowed in this district, go by what's explicitly listed here, which I think in 2006 pretty much was based on a survey of the existing businesses. So most of the things that are there now are in this list one way or another.
Okay.
And then each one of them says, or other establishments of similar character. So that if you get somebody with a business that's not explicitly listed, the question is a little bit of an interpretation on staff's part. Is it more like something already listed, or is it more like something listed someplace else? And daycares, our interpretation has always been, since daycare is listed somewhere else explicitly with office uses, that it's more like those office uses than it is the select service retail.
And when you said MS2 is zoned for ground floor office use, does that include daycare?
Yes.
Okay.
MS1 allows daycare because it allows
But not on the
CO,
ground floor.
But only on something that's not the ground floor. MS2 says the same thing, only doesn't exclude it from ground floor.
Okay.
The applicant says that these people have another place down the street.
Do you want to expand?
And I'm not sure that they still have the same tenant in mind. This originated in October. This letter's from November. It's very possible the exact tenant that they are thinking of may have already signed a lease or may have changed their mind. This is to allow
Yeah, but where would this other place be? Would it be on the drive?
their existing business must be in a CO district where it's already allowed. So they would be wanting to switch to the MS1 district with their business.
Well, then my question is, if I'm understanding correctly, in MS1, as long as there was a two-story building, the daycare could be located on the second floor. So all
Correct.
we're talking about is first floor occupant
Right.
versus second floor.
Correct.
So it wouldn't,
They could
now
also
is
be in
there
the,
any retail, let me flip it, is there any retail allowed on the second floor?
oh yes. The only thing that's prohibited is the ground floor from being things that are not in this list of, which are mostly retail and service.
So technically, we wouldn't be excluding any retail tax income if it's allowed in the district anyway.
How much second floor do we have in the district?
Minimal.
Yeah, so actually, just
Technically, but actually,
technically, you know, in reality.
yeah, yeah.
So far.
The last time we had a daycare issue before us, one of the issues, and it was a residential, but one of the issues was parking. And I know this is not germane to this particular situation here that really has no parking to speak of. And the vast majority of along Johnson Drive, there are parking, but that parking's not really available in most cases.
It's usually drop off and pick up, right?
Well,
I
it's kind of
apologize, I
difficult
don't
to
think
do
I
on.
copied and pasted all of, I only gave you the ordinance, I didn't give you the whole MS1 section, but in MS1, there are no parking requirements, they've been removed. So they would meet the parking because there is no parking minimum standard for MS1.
They would meet that, but in most cases would probably create an issue with dropping off, and not so much the parking itself, but the...
And it seems the commercial district was aimed at generating sales tax revenue or conducting business and bringing workers in who could then generate sales tax revenue in different shops, and daycare is just a different animal.
There are other uses that would have drop-off type functions that already listed as allowed. I think probably the dance studio envisions children being dropped off by their parents. That is allowed. That's probably the only one in here that's similar in that respect to daycare.
So is the staff recommending, because you've already drawn up the thing to be passed by the city council?
We
And
didn't make a recommendation on it because it was not something that came from the normal planning commission review.
But you have the thing all made up for the city council to sign and et cetera.
Yep, that's how it would look if you were to adopt it. That's the wording we would. If you were to adopt it, that's the wording we would recommend you use. There are lots of ways to change the code. This is the way that we think is makes the most sense with the existing structure.
But you're not officially recommending or not
We
recommending?
didn't take a position on this one, though.
Do you have a position?
Like I said, daycares are a little bit of a strange use. They're similar to dance studios. Do I think they could functionally work in the downtown? probably, but if every use was a daycare, then it might be a problem, yes. I wasn't here when the MS1 district was adopted, so I'm not sure if it was discussed at that point or not.
We specifically left it out.
Did
Yeah.
you? I mean, and as you pointed out tonight, it's not that it's prohibited from the district, it's just simply not a ground floor use that's seen as compatible with a downtown retail district.
Right, so if somebody really wanted a daycare on Johnson Drive, they could build a second story.
Or it can be on an understory, assuming you're not in the floodplain. I mean, daycare is it's a valuable service.
Basement at Lucky's.
As you've heard, or you know, when the last daycare request came in, there's a demand for it, and especially in our area of the county, that it's a service that's in demand.
Those shops behind the movie theater, are they MS2?
I think that whole block is MS1.
Even the back?
Yeah, I think so. I can look up I had the zoning map up here a second ago.
Now, are you talking the actual theater?
Yeah.
No,
Behind the
no,
shops
it's-
behind it.
Behind the shops are,
The terrace, you're talking about kind of the...
59th Terrace.
Little shops.
Yeah, terrace, that, 59th Terrace, that whole block it's right here. It's all MS1.
yeah.
So the MS2 there doesn't start until you get into some of the other
Yeah.
strip
Okay.
shops in the apartment. The lighter red is MS1, the darker red is MS2, and the orange is D&D.
Is there a way
I can't see a
If we
difference
could,
downtown district.
limit usages of different places in MS1 that, to say that if they are type that need a lot of parking, that they have parking available? Is there anything you would?
You could limit, I mean, we could, if you think this is too open, we can look at limiting the number of children, the square footage dedicated to that use. It's just that none of the other uses in this district are constrained that way, so.
I was thinking of any usage in this area, not just the daycare. If any of them would be a problem with parking for themselves and for the neighbors.
I think, you know, that would be a much larger project, probably something you'd want to do as part of a larger look at the downtown district. I think when the downtown district was created and the parking minimums were taken away, the thought was that there is on-street parking and it works, and the sharing of parking is part of what a downtown is like. And so that you really didn't need to constrain businesses, that they would kind of self-select anyway. Honestly, as staff, I'll tell you, most of the applicants we get in, when we tell them what our parking standards are, they say, that's okay, we want more parking than you guys you would make us have anyway. So most businesses kind of do that for themselves. They don't want to put themselves in a position where they don't have adequate parking for their customers.
Just as a comment about the limitation on square footage, I think the Health and Human Services probably already does that through the county, about how many square feet, how many staff, how many kids, and all
Right,
that
right.
stuff.
There are certainly state regulations for daycares above and beyond what our zoning would address.
I think most of the kids they were envisioning servicing are probably the all-day type kids, 8-9 hours at a time, maybe.
I'm guessing by the hours of operation that this particular applicant listed, it looks like they have a school, 6:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. During school, and then it looks like they have an after-school shift too.
So I mean, there's not like there's any green space in downtown for kids to go out and enjoy air or anything.
I'm not that familiar with the state regulations, but I do think there are some requirements for outdoor space if they have them, and I don't know exactly how many, what they
It's
need
probably
per student.
not our
but-
job to legislate that,
Yeah,
but
that's-
a place I would send my kid, I think that's what I'm saying.
there is also if a business were to open, they do also get an occupational license from the city where they make sure that they are meeting all those standards too, so.
I guess really kind of what I was talking about, because that clubs and drinking establishments shall be allowed also. Those could get a large crowd and take up a lot of parking too, like movies and things like that.
And I think the thought there with shared parking is that that's a nighttime use when the daytime businesses are closed. So again, the shared parking hopefully works for the most part. There's lots of ways to share parking.
Surely there's a state law that says daycare can't be within so many feet of a drinking establishment.
We actually have, I looked that up, we have some regulations for spacing for daycares between sexually oriented businesses and adult businesses. Also, drinking establishments within, I think ours actually regulates it within residential property, so I'm not sure if daycare. The other thing is if you have, if any of those bars or sexually oriented businesses were already in existence and a daycare came in, they would not be forced to move out. They were there first, so. But I don't believe we have any conflicts like that.
Well, what is the distance between a drinking establishment?
Drinking establishments, I think is 200 feet between residentially zoned property. The sexually oriented businesses is 500 to 750 feet, depending on whether it's a adult oriented or sexually oriented business.
Any additional questions for staff? Well, then why don't we open up the public hearing and then we'll close it and further discuss this. With that said, the public hearing is now open. Seeing no one in the room, the public hearing is now closed. Now it's back open to discussion.
So I'm just curious, for the people who were here when we passed this the first time, any change of heart?
Not for me.
Okay.
Does anyone have a motion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I make a motion that we deny the applicant's request.
Here a second.
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Peak,
Nay.
Braden,
Nay.
Lee,
Yay.
Mills,
Yes.
Donley,
Yes.
Hannon,
Nay?
Mara.
Aye.
It has been a month.
Are you keeping track?
I got one more yay than nay.
Is that what you
Is that
got?
right, Nikki?
Yeah.
It's nay.
No, 2, 5 to 3.
What's that?
Was it 4 and 4?
No,
5 to 3.
I think so.
Rewind.
5 to 3.
You won? I said rewind.
Rewind.
Nobody counted.
Well, that closes that case. Staff have anything else for us this evening?
What was the final declaration on that?
Yeah, what was it, what did you
The
say?
motion passed.
The motion passed 5 to 3.
And so
Motion passed.
the request was denied.
I will just mention tonight's Mark's last night. He will not be
Goodbye,
redoing
Mark.
this next year.
I'll come sit in the gallery. How's that?
Would you come to all the public hearings,
The
please?
public.
Yeah, you could be the public hearing.
And I don't know yet for sure whether we will have a meeting in January, but if we do, somebody remind me we need to vote for chair, vice chair, and secretary.
So if we do, it'll be the 24th, right?
Yeah, it'll be the regular date.
That's my birthday.
That's Mitzi's birthday, you
Yeah.
might want to note that.
Whoop-de-doo.
Does that mean you're requesting a cake or just?
No, I don't, no, never, never.
Don't we need a motion that we adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second the motion.
2 minutes.
I think we all seconded it.
You can bang it now, Mike.
Mike's ready to go.
We haven't voted yet.
Is there a need?
Aye.
Aye.
What time's the football start?